Hi there, I'm Katy-Rose, and I talk about personal power, motivation, energy, and well-being. Today I want to talk a little bit about how we can make space for things that we're actually driven to do or motivated to do. So if you haven't seen it, I do have a video specifically on 4 steps to kind of build up that sense of motivation and kind of use the things we have got control over to help you achieve the things that you want to achieve, particularly useful coming into the new year. But today I want to talk a little bit about how we can make that space for change, I guess, for different things. So the first thing to think about is that we make space mentally. So for a lot of people that might not mean anything, or it might automatically conjure up, 20 minutes of meditation. I'm thinking this is more about those lists that run through our heads. So if you're anything like me, you have a to-do list, for home, a to-do list for work, a to-do list for your personal life, for your health, for other people, and realistically it doesn't leave a lot of space for us to be planning, thinking about, kind of working through problems to do with our more personal goals. So the first step is to think about those lists or those worries or those aspects of your life that you continually kind of run through and think about and try and problem solve. The best way I find doing this is actually to write it down. So whether you are a pen and paper person, whether it's a post-it note, whether you want to have a Word document or a Google document or something, write down all of the things that are bothering you, that have been have been top of the list, I guess, have been going through your mind, have been things that you want to work on, want to maybe things that you want to change or that you think need to be a little bit different. So I did a spring clean of my mind, and this was the list that I came up with, and that has all kinds of things on it, from booking a GP appointment, taking out the recycling, tidying the living room, doing the washing, updating the music in my car, going through emailing my inbox, finishing off this particular project for a deadline. So it can be a real mix of things, but actually unless we've got that mental space to make plans moving forward, actually we just end up with these lists and lists and lists, and generally speaking the lists never end, that we never get everything cleared off of them, because by the time we've acted on 1 or 2 things, something else has happened, something else has come up. So the first thing about making mental space is about getting it out of here and putting it somewhere and being able to tell your brain, do you know what? I've written that one down. You don't need to keep reminding me every 10 seconds. Step 2 is to think about physical space. So do you, depending on what you're looking to change, do you need to alter your physical space? If you want to do home workouts, do you have a space in a particular room where you can do press-ups, where you can stretch your whole body out, where you can jump without it disrupting the neighbours? If you want to learn something like blacksmithing, do you have a space where it is safe to set up your own forge, or to kind of keep things that you make if you'll go elsewhere and go to courses to make them where they have all the facilities? If you just want to read more, do you have somewhere where you can sit away quietly with a book in a comfy chair? So thinking a little bit about physical space is always a good place to start with. Thirdly, when we talk about time, I like talking about time. I'm aware it's something that a lot of people have opinions about, and most people I work with feel they don't quite have enough of. And I think the thing that's probably unpopular to say is that we all have 168 hours every week. And even if you work 50 hours a week and you sleep 8 hours a day, you are still looking a pretty big chunk, over 50 hours of other time, even if we're going to factor in, meals and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that you have a bunch of free time and you don't use it well, and I'm not saying that you may not, I'm not going to judge you on your lifestyle or where you're at. I don't know you, but the one thing I do want to be aware of is if you had to find the time, if something happened, if a room flooded, would you be able to find or create half an hour to ring the plumber and then make a way of staying at home for the plumber to come round for an hour and a half in the next week? Now, most people would say, well, I'd have to. I would make that work. Of course I would. It's so high on my priority list that I would make it happen. I would make that time occur. However, if we say we want to read more, we often won't prioritise that and take that extra 10 minutes before bed when our program's finished that we watch on TV, we'll sit and scroll on our phone rather than read a bit of the book. So the third tip really, when I'm talking about making space in time, is actually called prioritisation. It's okay to prioritise things over others. I don't read as much as I would like to, but it's because I prioritise cleaning my house or going to work. There are definitely slightly more downsides of me not going to work because I want to read a book, in terms of getting paid and kind of what people think of me and that sort of thing, keeping that job. So again, I'm not saying that everyone can just drop everything to do what they want to do, but how are you spending your time and how are you prioritising your projects? So a subset of this is that, particularly coming up to New Year's resolution time, people will say that they want to do more online courses, they want to travel more, and they want to become fitter and healthier. If you only have 10 hours a week of free time where you can carve out actual space, or even 5 hours, if we're looking at half an hour first thing in the morning before the kids are up and half an hour after they've gone to bed, you might be able to just creep out an extra little half hour there, then which of those are you going to work on? Because actually what we often do is we try and do everything, and we cannot do all of the ands. We physically have limited time, limited energy, limited capabilities, as our bodies have as well, in terms of we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to do a lot of these things. Which thing are you going to prioritise? Which is your top priority? And I think this is where if you've heard about the word of the year or the theme of the year, rather than a resolution specifically with a goal, has come in, is because actually we get a guiding theme. So it might be freedom, in which case it just means that whenever you get that 10 minutes of time, you ask yourself, well, what would feel like freedom? Which one feels freer to me today? Again, if I had a word of the year of strength, and that helped me to make slightly better diet decisions, do a little bit more exercise than I would have otherwise, keep away from the sugar a little bit, that kind of thing. So really, when you're looking at prioritization, the last little kind of bit of making that space, so I guess step 4, is looking at your transition time. This is something I talk about quite a lot, and I find it is one of those things that people don't often consider or realise very often, is that we have some form of transition between one task and another. When I've finished one thing and that's up, I've uploaded that YouTube video, I then move on to my next task, which is usually making a cup of tea. But actually I have that transition time where I am walking down the steps towards the kitchen, or I am going from one meeting to another at work, and I'm taking those steps and that journey and that transition moment. Usually there is a 10-second space that I can make mentally to consider, what am I doing with this time? And I think one of the habits that we as a Western culture have gotten into is we check our phones. So for some people they'll check their social media, they'll check their Facebook, check their emails. For me, I do tend to play those games where you're joining up coloured dots. just something that doesn't really use my brain space, doesn't really use my mind, but gives me a little bit of downtime where I'm not thinking about work or that meeting or whatever's coming next. It gives me that break. However, there is absolutely no reason that I could not use that for 10 conscious, mindful seconds of kind of calm breathing, reset. Oh, am I feeling hot or cold? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Kind of a check-in. And actually using those transition times a little bit more, in a more planned way, a little bit more effectively, can really add up. So I actually read an entire book this year, probably 2 pages at a time, on my phone, while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, while I'm in between things, while someone's running late at a meeting, instead of looking at Instagram or Facebook. So the fourth thing really is to think about those transitions. How can you prioritize what you want to do? So when you've made your decision, do you know what? I'm going to focus on my health. Do you know what? I'm going to focus on being creative. I want to finish that story off. I want to become a minimalist and declutter everything I own. Okay, where are you going to be able to put the time in for that? Because we all have the same amount of time. We do all have different numbers of responsibilities and things that people rely on us for, but I expect there are, for most people, 30-second chunks here and there where you can kind of jump in and read 1 page of a book. You can do 10 squats while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, or a few lunges. So if you want to know a little bit more about kind of transitions and making space and kind of energy, and how actually it's all very well, I've made the space and I've made the physical thing, but actually I'm shattered, I'll put a link in the description below to my video about the 4 steps to kind of build up your motivation and energy. For me, they are kind of interchangeable terms. I do find that one creates the other. And let me know what you struggle with in terms of either prioritizing what task you're going to do, particularly if you've got a few things you want to tweak in the near future. And if you struggle with making space on a mental or physical kind of side, let me know. And we'll see if we can look at some possible solutions. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you again soon.